Welcome to the Golf Improvement Podcast, episode 24.
Welcome to the podcast for golf lovers and enthusiasts who are looking to take their games to new heights. Dedicated to custom club fitting, short game improvement, and effective practice to improve your golf game. This is the Golf Improvement Podcast with your host, Tony Wright.
Hello, this is Tony Wright from Game Improvement Golf in Oak Ridge, Tennessee, with the Golf Improvement Podcast, dedicated to bringing you useful information on custom club fitting, short game improvement, and effective practice techniques to take your game to new heights. Well, recently I've been listening to a very interesting book on audible.com, and it's one of those books that's probably going to cost me double because I'm going to have to actually buy the book so I can mark it. And it's got a very interesting title, and it's called Choke: What the Secrets of the Brain Reveal About Getting It Right When You Have to. There's a lot of good information in it, but one of the neat things I thought in it was this quote: "There are no shortcuts." That also connects to something else I've also been reading. Now this time I'm reading it from the actual book. And this is a great new book by a teaching professional named James Siegman, a short game improvement book. And he says in that book, what golfers do today does not affect what happens tomorrow, but it does affect what will happen a month from now. Both of those are saying, keep at it. Don't be afraid to just do little things. Do things to help you get better. So I love both of those quotes, and I think they're relevant for golfers who are looking to improve and master golf. It's relevant for club fitters like Bert Reich, who you're going to listen to, who I have a great amount of respect for. He's been working at this for about 15 years, and it's clear from listening to him on the podcast, but also knowing his responses on our AGCP website, what he does. And for anyone wanting to get better at anything, to me, it's about thinking about having fun about doing things that may not show up right away, but it'll have an effect in the future, in the long haul. And when you're doing that and you see some results too, you have a little bit of a smile about the things that you love and that you're looking to improve on. Again, whether it's golf, club fitting, whatever you're looking to get better at. So keep that in mind as you find little things to do, but also as you, like today, because today is one of those days where nothing is happening right, where you still find a few times to do something that's relevant toward what you're trying to improve. And I know it's going to take me a little bit of time to do that today because the day is not going the way I wanted it to, or at least I thought I wanted it to. One other thing that I did this weekend, it was also talked about in the Siegman book, but I know I've heard it from a lot of people, and that is I played yesterday. And I wouldn't say I had my best round. I enjoyed it a lot, though. And one of the things that helped me enjoy it is when I hit a shot that wasn't good, instead of sort of gritting my teeth, I did my best at saying, okay, what did I do there? What made that shot go that way? Now, is that going to immediately improve what I do? Probably not. But just that attitude about not getting down on myself and looking for ways to take something out of that bad shot, somewhere down the road, if I keep doing it and doing it and doing it, I think it's going to have an impact on my golf game. So just a little bit of food for thought there for today. I know you're going to really enjoy this podcast with Bert Reich from Gooder Custom Golf Clubs. He is a great interview. Hello, this is Tony Wright with the Golf Improvement Podcast, and it's a real pleasure today, actually this evening, Bert, right, to talk with a friend and a fellow custom club fitter, Bert Reich, from Gooder Custom Golf Clubs in Regina, Saskatchewan, Canada. Bert's a level 10 club fitter and club maker, and I can tell from reading all of his goodies on his site that he has a great passion for helping golfers to play their best golf. So I think we're going to have a really good time here today. And Bert, how you doing?
I am beautiful, thanks. How are you, Tony?
I'm good. You're doing what I did before I retired from my day job, which is work a lot during the day and then work on golf clubs at night. So I admire your stick-to-itiveness about that.
Yeah, some of the days get pretty long, but it's you wouldn't be doing it if I didn't like doing it. So.
That's right. So, Bert, let's start by you talking a little bit about your story, how you became interested in custom club fitting.
Okay, well, let's say about 15 years ago or so, and previous to that, I was an NHRA drag racer, and I was very involved and intrigued by the science behind that whole sport. It was my passion and my life for a lot of years. My son was born in November of 2000. My last race was 3 weeks before he was born. So once I retired from the sport of drag racing, I needed a new passion and kind of discovered the wonderful game of golf. And the more I played it, the more I enjoyed it. So that being said, that became my new sort of passion. I wasn't very good, very high handicap, but I was going out trying to improve and practice and so on. I took, with my wife's permission, I went and bought, very important. Yeah. I went and bought 7 new drivers. At the time, they were all the latest, greatest, best drivers they've ever made, longest, most forgiving, so on, just like all the ads say. And I took all of these to a driving range and got all warmed up and loose, and then I proceeded to back all these drivers, looking with the ultimate goal is to have one gamer and keep another one on the shelf as a backup, and then sell the rest.
Yeah.
And through this test session, it took me, I was at the range for a few hours, but out of that pile of 7 drivers, there was one that I hit quite well, and one that I hit okay, and the other 5 I couldn't hit to save my life. They were inconsistent. They felt horrible. The ball flight was very undesirable, and so on. And I remember the drive home that day was a real awakening moment. I was asking, something has to make these things tick. Why is it that I have their best product and it doesn't work? And that's kind of what started this whole path of quest for knowledge. What makes these things tick? Why did this one not feel good? Why did this, produce bad results? And, lo and behold, 15 years later, this has turned into something I didn't imagine was going to turn into, but an incredibly enjoyable business venture, and you make a lot of good friends. And I stay in touch with a tremendous amount of my past customers.
Yeah.
And it's been a real neat thing. And once you start learning, back in my infancy in the club fitting and club building, it's amazing. The more you start to learn, the more you realize you don't know. There is so much more to this than one ever imagined. And the knowledge train never stops. Like to this day, I'm still learning stuff almost daily through experimentation and communication with my fellow AGCP brothers. There's an awful lot of knowledge, good quality knowledge being exchanged through that group. And it's fantastic. It's really, really neat stuff. So much more to it than
people realize. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Very much so.
Yeah.
So it's long story short, 15 years later and a couple of launch monitors later, business license, and I don't know how many hundreds of sets of clubs I got out there now, but we've continuing to make gains and having a whole bunch of happy golfing customers, and it's been a real neat ride.
Yeah.
I quite enjoy it.
Yeah. Well, you did talk about having a lot of people that you still correspond with. I think that leads a little bit into the next question. from your experience, talk about some of the most important benefits that you've seen with the people, those people that keep talking to you in terms of their golf games from custom fitting.
A lot of the benefits, and this is mostly derived from feedback I get from a lot of these customers, and just from personal experience, because I experiment with certain clubs with myself. I'll build a club this way and hit it just to see what it feels like when your shaft is way too stiff or way too soft, or the club is way too heavy, way too light, and you can see all the differences that these things can, how they change how you swing the club and how they make it feel and such. But some of the real common feedback I get is consistency, much more consistent with every club in the bag. I should note that I only MOI match clubs. That's my preferred form of club-to-club matching.
Yeah, me too.
And it's proven itself to me in leaps and bounds how much more consistent a set of golf clubs could be. And I promise every golfer. I don't promise that you're going to go from shooting 120s to 70s with just a set of clubs. I mean, there's more to the game of golf than just clubs. Obviously, you have to have a consistent and repeatable swing and such, but I think having the right clubs in their hands, it would definitely help the golfer play to their potential. And that's huge. If you can help turn a 15 handicap into a 10 or 11, they're very happy. Or even down in the low handicap ranges, I've turned some 2s and 3s into scratch handicaps, and in a couple of cases even plus handicap golfers. So helping them play to their potential is huge. And of course, we're always looking to minimize damage or damage control, as I say it. We're not going to hit every shot perfect because we're human. And you see even the pros on Sunday Golf don't hit every shot perfectly. It happens. We're human. But if we can minimize some of that damage, so instead of blasting a tee shot out into the trees, well, maybe it stayed in the rough and you still got a shot to the green. Try and salvage a stroke here and there, and just keep damage to a minimum so your bad shots aren't putting you in jail. And a lot of people say they're hitting more fairways and more greens in regulation. And quite a few folks have given me the comment that their first putt is shorter. I had one gentleman who tracked the length of his first putt for several of his rounds. And he said his first putt used to average 24 feet, and after we got the right clubs in his hands, his first putt was now 15 feet. So obviously the closer you get to the hole, the percentage or likelihood of you making that putt is going to increase. So
he was a player then if he was getting to 15 feet, wasn't he?
Well, we turned him into about a 5 or 6 handicap.
Yeah.
When we were done, so pretty respectable.
Yeah.
Of course, tighter dispersion on our shots. Our shot pattern is much tighter, so errors are minimized. And for many, a byproduct of better quality contact, more consistent, good quality contact. A byproduct of that is more distance, and that's just a bonus. That's just comes from making better contact. One of the biggest things you can do to try and gain distance is to hit the ball on the center of the club face. That's where you get the most efficient power transfer from the club to the ball. The ball will go its farthest distance with quality contact.
Yeah.
So, another real good positive, any golfer I have out in the shop for fitting, I like to explain what I'm doing and why. And I don't want them ever leaving my shop scratching their head saying, what just happened here? I sort of like to keep them involved in the process, and they really enjoy that personal involvement. And it's just been really cool. I enjoy it immensely.
Well, and I think you saying that is really important because, confidence is so big, right? And if somebody
sure.
understands what they really did instead of going in and getting fit in 5 minutes from somebody and they get their clubs, there's a world of difference between those two.
Oh, huge. And like you said, the magic word there, 5 minutes to get your clubs. I mean, my God, my typical iron fitting is generally between 3 and 4 hours long. It's not something that you can do in 5 or 10 minutes. There's so many stones that would be left unturned if you try and rush it. It's not a race when you fit. Once you start, you fit till you're done, until we're both satisfied, me and the golfer.
Yeah.
Hey, we made good improvements here. Now I'm confident enough with this data that we can build a really, really good set of clubs for you, Mr. Golfer or Mrs. Golfer.
Yeah. Well, Bert, let's move on to another topic that I know is one of your favorite ones, and I'm really interested to hear you talk about this. And that's proper distance gapping. And when we read things from our buddy Tom Wishon about vanishing loft disease and things like that, I know you are, I would call it an absolute stickler about kind of sticking to your, right? About sticking to your guns, about, what makes sense in terms of gapping and the right kind of lofts for clubs and things like that. And I'd love to hear you talk about that part of what you do, which I think is, a little unique for some compared to some other folks.
Well, that's definitely one of the things that gets my feathers up a little bit is that quote unquote vanishing loft disease. and what that is for the folks who might not know is the manufacturers have been slowly sneaking the lofts of their irons down. So, for example, a 6-iron that used to be accepted standard as like 32 degrees. Well, God, I've measured some of these 6-irons now that are down at like 25 and a half, 26 degrees, which is kind of like a 4.5 iron.
Yeah.
So the golfer takes this new club and hits it farther. Geez, I'm hitting this as far as I did my old 4-iron. These clubs must be better. Well, yeah, guess what? You're kind of hitting a 4-iron.
Yeah. So
it's not any big breakthroughs in science that made you hit that ball farther. It's just a stronger loft. One of the drawbacks to this whole vanishing loft thing is on the longer clubs, the lower numbered clubs, 3-irons, 4-irons, and so on. They get the lofts way down there, and a lot of times they have these clubs only 2 or 3 degrees apart. And for most golfers, those are the clubs you need, minimum 4 degrees, between a 3-iron and a 4-iron and 4-iron and 5-iron and such. And the other drawback to that is by the time you get up to the shorter clubs, the clubs that you use the most, you're going to use a wedge far more often than you will a 3 or 4-iron in a round of golf.
Yeah.
But they've got the lofts on the wedges now at, sometimes 6, 7, 8 degrees apart. And I don't think you can do that.
Yeah, between a gap and a sand wedge and stuff.
Holy cow. I mean, I've measured some pitching wedges now that are down at like 42, sometimes 43, 44 degrees. Well, traditionally a gap wedge, which didn't exist 20 years ago, was 52. But now you've got a great big gap between pitch and gap wedge. So they're either going to have to invent a gap wedge or some other funky name for a new wedge to fill that hole. But that's what they're doing, is creating big holes in your shortest clubs, and the ones you really rely on for your scoring. Like short game is hugely important to a golfer's ability to score in the game of golf. And it's just kind of crazy now when 6, 7, 8 degrees apart in wedges, when I'm a big believer in 4-degree splits for most golfers.
Yeah.
Like it all depends. If you have someone with a quite low swing speed, I will even widen that to 5 or 6 degrees from club to club.
Yeah.
But that produces good, equal and then measurable distance gaps from club to club. If you have a slow swinger with, clubs that are 3 degrees apart, well, instead of that, 10 to 15 yard club to club distance, well, now they're only down to 5, 6, 7 yards. Well, that's almost useless, So I'm a big believer in the 4 degree splits. And like on a lot of the sets that I build, I like to start the 4-iron at 24 degrees, and then I like to follow 4 degree splits all the way through the 60 degree lob wedge. And I've had a lot of lower handicap golfers, and some of them are, before they come to me, are playing these new, really, really strong lofted off-the-shelf clubs. And they'll specifically say, in my new set, I need a 60 degree club.
Yeah.
I love my 60. I have to have a 60. And if you go from the strong lofted, I like to put this stuff on paper so they can see.
Yeah.
But, instead of having 6-iron at 32 degrees, well, now they're 6-irons at 25. By the time you do the math and go up 4 degrees, well, if you want your 60, we're going to have some really, really big loft gaps between your other wedges. It's just creating a lot of holes.
Yeah.
Because we're really trying to cover as many distances as we can in a set of clubs. We're trying not to leave a big 30-yard hole from this club to that club, because now you're either going to try and muscle the shorter club to attain a certain distance, or you're going to, in some cases, try and soften up a longer club. But a lot of times, they're not going to produce the result, the desirable result of standing there making a normal, good swing and achieving the distance you want. When, like I always tell people when I'm fitting them, if you need an extra 10 or 15 yards carry on this shot, don't take a shorter club and try and kill it.
Yeah.
9 out of 10 times, it's your quality of contact is going to suffer, and the ball will probably go shorter. And, the thing I've always had in my head, when you swing hard, you swing stupid.
That's pretty good.
It's, just stand there with the right tools and make your good swing, and unfortunately they're really plugging on people's egos with these strong lofted clubs. I mean, does it really matter the number on the club that you hit from 150 yards that you're trying to put on the center of the green? And for some golfers, it might be a club with a number 9 on it. In others, it might be a number 5 on it. But does it matter? No. To me, what matters is you can go to your bag and pull a club out and have complete confidence that if I stand here and make my good, normal, proper swing, this ball is going to go 150 yards. That's what matters.
Yeah.
And I mean, for some of these ego folks, I could take a club with like a number 8 stamped on it, and with a little bit of quote unquote creative bending, I could make that thing so he hits it like 200 yards.
Yeah.
So that might make you feel all good and manly, but what did we just prove? Nothing. That means you just hit a 24 degree club 200 yards.
Yeah.
Where, typically 8-iron for a lot of these people are, 120 to 150. So all they're doing is fooling themselves.
Yeah.
That's just kind of my take on it. I could go on for hours on this topic. But.
Well, and I think, it's going to be impossible to go much further. But, I looked myself a couple of months ago. You simply don't, when you look at what's in the bag for the pros, they don't do it.
No.
None of them play a 6-iron that's any less loft than 30 degrees. Not one of them. Not one of them. Because
the pros want, I want this club to go this far.
Yeah.
Like golf is not a game of who can hit the ball the farthest. It's not. It's a game of patience and control, and it's the last time I checked anyway, the guy who's holding the trophy and the check on Sunday is the guy that shot the lowest score.
Yeah.
And nobody cares at last year's U.S. Open who had the longest drive or who hit the longest 7-iron. Who cares? Yep. It doesn't matter. But hey, who had the lowest score? Most people will remember that. That's what matters in a game of golf. It's not a game of murder ball or I can hit it farther than you. That's not what the game's about.
Yeah. Well, let's move on a little bit, Bert, and I really appreciate you talking about that. The people that listen to it, I just hope they think about that part a little bit when they look for more clubs. Talk some about some of your most interesting, even more than successes, surprises, from custom fittings that you did in the past.
Well, God, there's numerous, but one of the kind of biggies that stands out in my mind is I had one of the managers from a local big box retail golf store come out for his fitting. And before we started, he made me swear to secrecy I wouldn't release his name. But, there again, we worked together for 3 or 4 hours and got him into something that he was hitting exceptionally well. And he turns around when we're done. He says, back at the store, we couldn't even come close to what you do here. He mentioned that their typical fitting was 15 to 20 minutes, and there's just so many details that are left unaddressed, and I think you're just leaving an awful lot on the table, because it's all about details. That there's so many things with a golf club that we as fitters and builders can influence.
Yeah.
All the length, weight, flex, loft, lie, so on. And we try to get as many of those variables correct as we can. That's what makes a good set of golf clubs for an individual. Not just addressing two variables, because you're just not going to end up with the complete package.
Yeah.
So, oh God, there's been so many numerous success stories. I got another one that comes to mind. I had a fella, he was a 2 handicap, and he had been a 2 for like 4 years, just hit a wall, could not improve. And we went through our 3-4 hour fitting and got him into something that he was hitting just super. And it was like his all-time career round was a 68, which is pretty respectable.
Oh, yeah.
But 3 weeks after his first set with me, he gave me a call, and the little bugger went out and shot a 64. And he was just dancing on air. And that year, he went from a 2 handicap to a plus 0.7.
Wow. And
he was just thrilled. And over the years, we've just, this particular fella, he and I have developed a very good friendship. And over the years now, I've done, I think, 5 sets for this fella. And numerous drivers, because he always likes to have new stuff. But that's his thing.
That's his race car, right?
kind of, sort of.
Yeah, right.
But just a real tremendous story there. I get numerous emails or phone calls from previous guys. Hey, I just shot the best round of my life, or hey, geez, I lowered my handicap 3 strokes this summer. Those little moments just make me smile really, really big inside.
Yeah.
Very, very gratifying when you hear feedback like that. And so it's quite happy. The biggest handicap increase I've noticed with my clubs, I had a gal, she was actually a swing instructor. And she used to get a free set of clubs every year. And she had one set she said, I just can't hit. And anyway, she came out for her fitting, and we got her into the right stuff. And she claims that she dropped 8 strokes that summer off her handicap. That's my biggest gain so far. And then, numerous holes in one and such, and a lot of personal bests and things. So very, very gratifying.
Yeah, well, you've had a lot of, you've come a long way in 15 years and had a lot of success. So that's kind of neat.
Yeah.
Well, let's sort of end here a little bit in terms of this is your last word to the people listening. So, talk a little bit about, what kind of takeaways you want golfers to get from our discussion today and things that you hope they do.
Well, if you're serious about the game or you're trying to improve, I mean, yes, you need a good swing. Yes, you need to practice, but the tools that you swing have to be correct for you also. One thing that really, really strikes me since I've been doing this, and I keep track of so many things, but I have yet to build 2 identical sets of clubs.
Huh.
Now we're talking in 10 years in as a business, plus a couple of years before that as a hobby. But that tells me something. Everyone, you might have 2 people the same height, the same stature, but they're going to swing the club completely different. And obviously, you can't put the same club in their hands. Very important if you want to play better golf or to your potential, get fit by a good, certified, and qualified fitter. Because there really is a difference. I believe that with all my heart. We can really help golfers play better. I truly believe that. I've got, and the thing is, after 10 years of this, it's just way too often to be a coincidence where people are shooting better rounds and lowering handicaps. It's just way too often to be coincidence. Like
it's not a random happening.
Oh God, no! There's something to this for sure. I kind of giggle when you snoop around on the internet. Some of these places, tell me your wrist to floor measurement and your swing speed, and I can build you a set of custom clubs. Oh man, it's not even close. I don't even build online. Like the only way to get clubs through me is you got to come and get fit. It's all about the fit. You don't know if that golfer needs an extra 2 or 3 grams of weight on the head, and the only way you tell that is by testing. That's what we do, performance-based testing.
Yeah.
That's how I find out if this length is right for you, or this shaft weight, or this flex, or this head, for that matter. It's all about testing. And the real neat thing is the flight scope and the little impact labels and all these little cool tools that we use to help fit golfers, they won't lie to you. You cannot lie to an impact. It'll tell you what's going on.
Yeah.
So it's really neat stuff, and it can really make a difference for your game and make you enjoy the game better. Like I don't know if when you walk off a course and you shoot a really good round or your best round, kind of think of how that feels. That's pretty special. And we can get a lot of people walking off with a great big smile on their face after 18 holes. It's just very rewarding.
Well, we talk about needing more people to enjoy the game. But I did one of the things that you said that I just really liked is, no 2 sets the same. Now, I mean, if you go somewhere and buy clubs that aren't really fit, in a way, it's kind of a badge of honor, I guess, is what I'm saying to you, about what you said there, because they aren't the same.
Even if you watch the pros play, like there's a complete difference in a swing of a Jim Furyk to, say, a Matt Kuchar. Very, very totally different orchards. They're, so to say that, okay, I'm a club builder and here's my standard set of clubs, and you have a guy like a Jim Furyk and a guy like a Matt Kuchar buying clubs, well, they definitely don't need the same thing. They're totally different swings. It's just wrong. You can't do that.
Yeah. Well, Bert, I really appreciate you spending, a little bit of your evening today with me and talking. And, we've been trying to get together for a while, and I thank you for your patience in getting this worked out. So I want to just sort of end here and say, certainly for those of you anywhere near where Bert is, check out Gooder Custom Golf Clubs, and he's at www.goodergolf.com. And quite frankly, Bert, there's a whole range of websites around for us folks that do custom clubs, but you have a great and interesting website. Golfers can enjoy it and learn from it, and at a minimum, just going and reading a lot of the things that are on your site will help golfers get a good appreciation for what you do.
I thank you for the kind words, and I also thank you very much for asking me to come join you for a little while. I really enjoyed this.
Yeah, this has been great. Well, thanks again, Bert.
Taking your game to new heights. www.gameimprovementgolf.com.
Bert, we had a great time talking custom club fitting, and I respect all the time you've worked at learning to become an expert. For those who want to learn more about Bert Reich and what he does in terms of custom club fitting and Gooder Golf, you can go to www.goodergolf.com. And also make sure to go and read some of the posts in Bert's flog. Now, flog is golf spelled backwards. That's a great twist on things, Bert. He doesn't exactly follow all the rules of writing, I would say, and I mean this in a positive way. His posts are often very long, but they're Bert, and they're interesting, and they're definitely worth reading. Well, that's it for today. In 2 weeks, we'll be talking custom club fitting again, but this time with, as the folks on Golf Digest say, the golf club whisperer, Dana Upshaw from Dana Golf. I'm delighted Dana's been able to take the time to do this. He's truly one of the best club fitters in the world, and I'm looking forward to hearing what he has to say to help you play your best golf. See you in 2 weeks.
Game Improvement Golf, your source of information and inspiration to become an exceptional golfer now. www.gameimprovementgolf.com